Would you be willing to go to jail for these things?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that.
But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail.
Like President Trump, Tom Homan and the new team for border security have already indicated exactly what they're going to be doing on day one with regard to securing our border and then going after criminal illegal aliens. They face deportation. Why? Well, because that's what the law is. It is literally the law of the land right now, that if you're in this country illegally, you're a criminal, you get kicked out. Not taken care of, not given parole, not flown from New York to Georgia so you can murder some young woman out for a jog. No, you're apprehended and you're deported. That's the law. Don't like the law? Change the law. Well, there are a lot of Democrats in this country who run big cities and states who have decided that not only do they not like the law, but they don't like the idea that the law will be enforced. And so they've spoken out and they've said they're going to defy the Trump administration, defy federal law, defy federal law enforcement, stand their ground, and go to jail if they have to. Like this guy.
Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, has said that he is willing to arrest leaders like yourself for standing in the way of these policies that they want to enact. Would you be willing to go to jail for these things?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that. And I'm also not seeking that. I think the goal is we want to be able to negotiate with reasonable people how to solve hard problems. Republican and Democratic presidents in the past have all tried to find solutions to these problems. President Reagan helped people get access to work so they could stay and support themselves. Biden and Harris worked on restricting entry at the border to close down. There are a lot of ways to approach this problem. We don't think it has to come to this. But yeah, I think when you look at, Ralph Carr has always been one of my heroes. He was the governor who in the middle of the internment of Japanese Americans said this was the wrong thing to do. And he stood up. It was unpopular. People were mad at him about it. That was in the middle of wartime. If the president or any of his actors are going to do things that we think are illegal or immoral or un-American, we'll stand.
All right. So that beta male is Mike Johnston. He is the the mayor of Denver, Colorado. A couple things here. To compare the deportation of criminal illegal aliens to the internment of Japanese American citizens is foul and despicable and disgusting. Okay. Those were American citizens who were wrongly interned during World War II. Their lives were ripped apart and destroyed by the American government against actual American citizens who were born here in this country. By the way, it was a Democrat who did that. Thank you very much. Democrat Franklin Delano Roosevelt during World War II. But this is not the same thing. It's not even close to the same thing, number one. Number two, did you just compare your policies with Ronald Reagan's? Ronald Reagan? I beg your pardon, but to paraphrase Will Smith, take my president's name out your mouth. You're not allowed to sit there, Mr. Beta Mayor of Denver, and defy reasonable, normal federal law with regard to criminals in this country who have no business being here. You're not allowed to compare that with anything Ronald Reagan did in his entire career. All right, so that's number two. And number three, put a jacket on. That's ridiculous. You're not Jim Jordan. You're not even close to Jim Jordan. Tom Homan, after that little interview that you just saw, with multiple camera angles, by the way, that was impressive. Tom Homan showed up on Hannity last night, and he responded directly to the mayor of Denver.
Tom, you heard this mayor out there in Colorado. I want to get your reaction to it, and I want you to be clear about who has jurisdiction: the federal government or state and local governments. And if you're a sanctuary state or city, are you breaking the law?
You're absolutely breaking law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail. Because there's a statute. It's Title 8 United States Code 1324 III. And what it says is, it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't want to help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. President Trump has a mandate for American people. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. And I find it shocking that any mayor of a city would say, President Trump's been clear, we want to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it. If you don't want to fix it, if you don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will.
That's right, because the people who live in those communities are American citizens and they deserve protection, even if the mayor isn't going to give it to them. That's Governor Abbott, by the way, of Texas, as you know, joining Tom Homan during that interview. Governor Abbott was announcing that the reservation of hundreds of acres of land on the border that he is handing over to the federal government for their use for detention centers during their efforts to keep the border secure. Things are already happening before Inauguration Day. Talk about an administration ready to hit the ground on day one. It's almost like, I mean, I hate to say this, but it's almost like having 4 years off from being president and then coming back in for your second term made Trump even more robust and on the ball to be able to get business done right away. He's been there. He knows what needs to take place. He knows how these agencies work, and he ain't going to waste any time with these, black tie balls and dancing and all that. He's done that. It's like, no, we're ready to go. Let's get to work. He can't wait. He absolutely can't wait. Meanwhile, there's another mayor stepping up and making the same threats or promises to be arrested and obstruct the law. You just heard Tom Homan, your borders are coming up here, citing federal law that you are harboring and obstructing, and you're actually impeding a federal officer. You will be arrested. You will be incarcerated. Well, you don't have to go all the way to Denver for that to happen. Here is Mayor Mike O'Connor, no relation, thank God, of Frederick, Maryland. This is one county away from the District of Columbia border, and he's promising the same.
This election cycle did not go as I had hoped.
In response to Trump's national immigration policies, Frederick Mayor Michael O'Connor pledging to carve out space in his local budget for a legal advocacy fund, which would use tax dollars to pay undocumented immigrants attorneys' fees as they fight deportation.
Ensuring they have the legal support they need to stand strong and remain in this community they have chosen to call home.
O'Connor explaining his intention is to allocate the money to organizations already providing similar legal services, helping them expand the number of people they're able to support, although he's still determining the exact dollar amount to set aside. Some residents we spoke with supportive of the end goal.
I believe a lot of non-immigrant people also contribute to the country as well.
But all of them against their tax dollars footing the bill.
I'm torn.
I don't like the idea. I'd rather our taxpayer money go towards American citizens.
You break the law, it's just what happens. Nobody helped me pay for my attorney fees when I break the law. So why should we be paying for theirs out of taxpayer money?
But this comes at a cost. And this could be a very large cost for Frederick. And quite frankly, Frederick can't afford it.
One thing that just because I live in this area, I can tell you, Frederick, the city of Frederick, who this schmo represents, is part of the county of Frederick. The Frederick County, Maryland, is represented countywide by a guy in the sheriff's office. His name is Chuck Jenkins. He's now in his 5th term. And one of his signature policies as the sheriff of Frederick County is to cooperate with ICE with a robust cooperation program for the apprehension and deportation of illegal immigrants. This guy, the mayor of the city of Frederick, was just fine using tax dollars to pay for legal representation. I loved the man on the street responses there saying, yeah, not with my tax dollars. Hey, I don't know, maybe it's me. Why don't we use our tax dollars to help, I don't know, American citizens instead of citizens from another country? By the way, I keep hearing how they live here and they contribute. That means that they work, right? They work and contribute to our economy. Well, if they're working, maybe they can pay their own legal fees. I mean, or maybe Alex Soros, the son of George Soros, maybe he can dip into his pocket instead of funneling hundreds of millions of dollars to Democrat politicians or to district attorneys and states attorneys who let criminals walk out on the streets. Maybe he could spend some money defending these people instead of taxpayers in Frederick City. Something tells me this mayor will not win re-election if this is his policy leading up to Election Day. It's a remarkable turn of events. And if you're worried about your tax dollars being used for these purposes, you have every right to be. But it's not just at the city level in Frederick, Maryland. It's not just in Denver, Colorado. It's not at the state level where the governor of Illinois has decided that he's also going to resist and stand in the way Wakanda forever of Tom Homan deporting these people who shouldn't be here. Let's take a look at what's going on at the federal level. Just last week, Department of Homeland Security committee hearing had a remarkable revelation about the finances behind the illegal immigrant crisis in this country. You think this is just about asylum and humanitarian aid and trying to help our fellow man if they happen to come here because they're fleeing persecution in their home country? No. Like most things in the United States government, this is about the almighty dollar. There's big business in illegal immigration, big business and big money to be made. Your money. Take a look at this.
I'd like to ask Mr. Carroll and anybody else who would like to answer this. Can you name some of these NGOs that have specifically taken these hundreds of millions of dollars and not used it to protect these children?
Catholic Charities, Lutheran Family Services, Jewish Family Services. I spoke to a gentleman that works in DHS. He actually sends the electronic fund transfers, and I asked him, sir, tell me who do you send, who are you responsible for, and how much is the largest check you cut? He said, I'm over Jewish Family Services, and I cut a check for $600 million. And I said, is that for like 3 years? And he told me, JJ, get in the game. That's 2 or 3 months, and it's renewable. That's one NGO.
One NGO, that's a non-governmental organization. These are the charities that are positioned at the border and throughout the country to help clothe, shelter, feed, and transport the illegal immigrants that come into this country. One of them is getting a check cut for hundreds of millions of dollars every 3 or 4 months. That's why there's such powerful interest. That's why these mayors are pushing back on this. You don't think they get some of that money in campaign contributions? You don't think that money funnels through the government agencies before it gets to the non-governmental organizations, the NGOs? Huge money. Our money. Your money. Are you sick and tired yet? Do you recognize why the election went the way that it went and why change has to happen really, really fast? I'm guessing you do. And it looks like change is on its way. We just have to wait 2 more excruciating months. But the good news is all these people, the mayor of Denver, the mayor of Frederick, these non-governmental organizations, people in the media, they're all freaking out already. Because Tom Homan, the border czar, Kristi Noem, director of Homeland Security, and yes, the president of the United States coming in 2 months, they have the audacity to actually enforce our laws as written. How dare they?